Oh, because my microphone's off. Hey, promise I'm not stupid. I'm not. Uh, my name is Spider Hunter, aka Tristan, and I'm here to show you how to code a C# bot, Discord bot, using C# and D# Plus, which is the Discord library that I'll be utilizing. I already have one started up and some features already built in, but since the last time that I started up working on this, which was just before I was streaming, I edited a bunch of the features that are associated to it, as well as updated the database. So because I updated the database in a large manner, I'm trying to figure out what features I've broken and which ones I haven't. So as of right now, you know that the help command still works. Boop. Go here. Oh wait, let me actually run the bot. You guys can see it. We're running in action. I won't be on for super long today. Just figured I'd go live while I'm doing things. All right, so if I did /help, that still works. I do /help, category name, disk. I get all the disk commands. I do that same thing with bag. I get all the bag commands. Goody, goody, goody. Okay, so help does still work. Right here. Help command does still work. I did test the disk numbers one. So if I were to do /disk proxy, you'll see that my proxy gives out stuff for it, except for the fact, it doesn't give out the manufacturer. Okay, so let me real quick go into my disk / command that I got here. My manufacturer is supposed to show up here. Oh, because I never updated this. Okay, so this should now be int manufacturer ID. And my database has disk as manufacturer ID. So I want that. And then if I go into my disk repository and I do git disk, yeah. So because this doesn't have a manufacturer ID anymore, now I just gotta go get the manufacturer. So var manufacturer equal to await disk repository.get manufacturer, and I'm going to do that by the disk.manufacturer ID. And so I am going to pass in the manufacturer.name. And this is going to be a string of the manufacturer. So I'm going to update that there. And then because if we look at this, there's a I have a null check here, but I'm using it before that null check. So if I want to, I can do if disk equals null, then I'm going to call this with that. So basically I'm sending a message out to Discord with the embed that I've already created, that it's a failed embed system for that. And then I just want to return out of it. So at this point now I know that I have a disk. So I can actually just take this, move this up here, and then take this and make that the new embed. All right, so there's build errors. It's other commands. That's not the one I wanted. Disk slash. Here we go. So manufacturer. String manufacturer. That's going to go there. This is going to be manufacturer dot name. That fixes it there. The disk review. You get the manufacturer again. Yeah, this isn't this command's not currently created yet. So and then add disk. Oh yeah. There's a better way to do this, and I'll probably do it in the future. Update it. Really what I should be doing is I should be going and pulling the manufacturer's name from the database as well when I pull back the disk that it is. Okay, so this one's giving me a red because there's already a manufacturer in here. Basically what this command does is it adds the disk to the database so we can pull the information back from it. So if I do db manufacturer, so I can just separate out the fact that this is coming from the database. Oh, I already have db manufacturer down here. So how do I want to do this? I can do disk manufacturer. And I can pass this in here too. Got name. And replace that there. These are the hard things about coding, is like figuring out what to name certain things and what I shouldn't name certain things. Okay, let me build it, make sure that it runs. Successful. Nope. Let's run it. And I need to, again, check the disk command. I'm just going to do up and enter, and it should now return back the manufacturer that's associated to that. So that one looks good now. So we can go back to here. That one's good. Let's try advanced disk / advanced disk proxy. Yep, so I set up some data that's associated to this to make it, excuse me, to make it so that I can get like figuring some things out and whatnot. So the number of times bags is how many bags that this disk ends up in or shows up from. The global popularity rank is the number of times that it is like the ranking based on like how many different times it's bagged over all of the disks in total. But you guys can't see that. Just move that up. There we go. So number of times bagged, bags total, or the ranking thereof. So for this one, it's tied for first. Let me take this and just move this. There we go. That's easier. Delete. 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 I'll just move that up so you guys can see it, but I'll just move this over here so that you can see it a little bit easier. So, and I'll move this bottom piece up so that you can see the rest of that information. There we go. Okay, so number of times bagged, how many bags does this disk land up in? The popularity of that disk. So right now I have it set up that the proxy and the envy both are in 2 different bags. So it's tied for first. If I do a construct, this is only bagged once. So because this takes up the first 2 slots, this is the 3rd in popularity. And then if I do advanced disk pilot, it's not bagged by anybody, and the popularity rank is that it's not bagged. So I can't have a popularity rank if it's not bagged. And all the technical standards come from the database. So if I look here, I have all of these technical standards. None of them are currently set. Well, I could probably set the construct one because that's some data that I have in here. If I look at this one. Oh, actually here. So I don't know if any of that's real. That's fine. We'll just put that in there. 174.3. The envy. Oops, that 3. Right. Nope. Still can't type. Diameter was 21. Height is 1.8. Rim depth is 1.4. Inside rim diameter is 18.8. I got 1.1. Oops. And the approved date was, oops, according to this, 12 Jan 14. Let me do 12 Jan 14. I don't know if this is going to accept the approved date this way. Yeah. Could also be 01/12/2014. MySQL insert date format. year, month, day format. So 2014-01-12. There we go. That works. Okay. So now, if I go back to here and I run /add disk env, it'll pull up the env with all of those things. It can pull back reviews that we've put in there from certain people. It should also come back with a an image if we have one from anybody who's bagged it, so they can like take a picture, they can pass in the image and so on and so forth. So advanced disk looks like it's working fine, other than the fact that the image isn't showing up. Although I kind of want that image up here. Hideous Bumg. I do not need promotion of my channel. I appreciate it though. Thank you. Let me just go look at where that advanced disk picture goes. Wondering if I can do embed dot yeah, with thumbnail. Need to enter in a URL. I can paste that there. There we go. I don't currently have an image in there, but it's fine. Okay, so advanced still works. Disk review I haven't tested. Add disk I was just going through before going online, so add disk now works again. And has this neat feature that if I do, am I still running? Nope, I'm not. Let me go back to here. Let me run this again. Here. All right. So if I do add disk and I want to add in, let's say Rock 3. If I go to manufacturer, it'll pull up a list of manufactured options. And then if I do no, it will pull up that manufacturer for me. I'll already have it in there. I don't need to. But if I don't have the manufacturer in there, I can put in a different name for that manufacturer. So like if it's a brand new one, like Yeet Street discs, if I'm adding in their disc and I don't have their manufacturer name in there, I can type it in their manufacturer name and then it will just add the manufacturer for me prior to adding in the disc. Believe that does it before. Yep. So I go to find, see if the disc already exists with that name. In case you didn't know, discs in Disc Golf can't have the same name or don't have the same name that I can recall as other manufacturers or as other discs. So like if you make the MVP Tangent, for example, you can't make the Discraft Tangent. It's just not allowed unless you retire that disc, in which case then you can have a disc with, I think, with the same name as the previous one. So I go and grab the disc. If the disc does already exist, I don't need to add it in there. I go ahead and just tell everybody that the disc already exists. So if it doesn't add it, then I want to go get the manufacturer for that disc. if I don't have a manufacturer for that disk either, like the Yeet Street example, I add the manufacturer into the database, get that manufacturer back here, and then I add the disk into the database for that. So add disk works as it should. Let's check the bag command. So /bag. So we can do two of them. I can do /bag, which gives me my bag and what I'm putting in it. Or I can do /bag with someone else's name. So if I do /bag at Jim Bob, who's one of my good friends, he doesn't have a bag set up, so he's not going to have any disks in his bag. So as far as I'm aware, that's currently working. So I can go ahead and mark that one as tested. And then you'll see every time I move something in Trello, I get another Trello thing over here saying that the bag command got moved from in testing to completed. It's a fun little Trello feature for Discord. Right, so the other one I want to do is /ibag. I want to take a name for the disk and add it in here. So let's say I will never bag the pilot in real life, but I'm just going to add it in here. And that doesn't work. All right, so why doesn't that work? Oh, well, so it's not going to work because I've changed the normal database that I'm working in. So I had just called my dev bot rather than the one that I intended to call. So instead, let's do this and call it the pilot there. Now there's a different error. Okay, so if we look at this, what this says is that I called the ibag pilot, and there's an unknown column disk ID in the field list, and that is coming from the add disk to bag call. So we go back over to the code. Let me close that. I think I gotta pull up. Oops. /commands, bag commands, ibag /class. /command, and then so add disk to bag, which will be here. So let me go into what that looks like. And I want to insert into bag that stuff. Now, I can tell you that that is no longer where I am putting any of the disks for the bag. I have set up the database such that I have bags for the user. Okay, so each user has their own bag, and a user can have multiple bags, but we're not currently set up for that. Everybody will only be able to add one bag at the moment, and multiple bags will come later on, potentially behind some sort of monetization feature. And then we have disks. So these are all the different types of disks that you can have. But in a database, if you have a list of something and a list of another thing, and you want to have, you can have one disk and multiple bags in this case, or one bag containing multiple disks. So it's what's called a many-to-many relationship. You can take those and you can put those into a separate table aside from each other called, in this case, bagged disks. So this will get me all of the disks. So you can see, like, I want to go, if I wanted to find all of the bags where I have a disk ID is equal to 15, I now know that it is found in bags 5 and 6. Or if I want to find all of the disks inside of a bag, I can search on bag ID 6, and I can see that I have 3 disks in that bag ID. It really helps with keeping separations of concern in the database. The other way, so I told you that this is a many-to-many system. Oof. Let me say hi to the stream dog. Hey, stream dogs. Um, outside of having a many-to-many relationship, you can also have one-to-many. So an example of this would be a single disk could have multiple reviews associated to it. So inside of here, I have the database ID, the primary key for the database. I always recommend having a separate integer primary key, unless you know that there's gonna be millions upon millions of records, then you probably should have a long. But if you're gonna have millions and millions of records, there's totally different ideas and concepts for how you should really do that. And then you put in the ID of the thing that you could have multiples of. So in this case, I could have multiple reviews of disk ID 15, which in this case is the envy, along with the person who left the review and then the review itself, in this case, in a hashed review. This is the idea of a one-to-many. So there's one review many reviews for one disk. And that's how you would set that up. So instead now, because I know that I'm moving to this bagged disks section, I need to insert into bagged disks the disk ID and the bag ID. So I'm going to move this to there and then do bag ID. These two are going to go over here. One thing that you'll see here in my query is these @ signs. So what I'm doing is I'm parameterizing my my SQL calls to make it so that when I pass in, let's say, a string, I can't have you pass in a string that starts with : truncate table blah, because then it would mess up my entire database. You could potentially blow up the database. So parameterized strings don't allow you to do that. It limits what you're passing in into a string variable, which then forces it to be that way, or whatever type of variable that it's supposed to be: string, integer, long, date, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so then I need pass in the disk ID, and here I want to put in the bag ID. So instead of being the user, I'm going to take an int of a disk ID, int of a bag ID. And why do I not need the multi-bag number anymore? Because the bag ID is the multi-bag number. You're going to have each different bag by a user. The multi-bag number is like which bag for the user is it. So it kind of gives you an ID for those. So each user can have multiple bags that are associated to them. So like I have my main disc golf bag, and then if I have my glow disc golf bag or something along those lines, I can put all those inside of there. And then, but inside of the bag database, if we look back here, I have what the multi-bag number is. So I don't need to pass in the multi-bag number because I'm passing in the ID. The ID will be specific to the multi-bag number. That's why I don't need that in there anymore. Well, that's interesting. My select query is pulling from bag, but casting to a disk. Really hope I wasn't using that one. So instead, I'm going to be pulling disk where disk ID is equal to disk ID. Okay, so next thing I need to do is I need to go and take this and I need to update my database call, or excuse me, my repository call, and change this to be that. Now I'm also going to have to update this one as well. And I'll actually go back and update that before I move into the rest of that call. So this remove disk from bag, if you notice that the select call is calling to delete from bag. I don't want to delete from bag. That's a bad idea. So instead, I'm going to delete from bagged disks where disk ID is equal to at disk ID and bag ID is equal to at bag ID. I'm basically just removing it from that many to many table that we had earlier. Now, what if I already have that disk in the bag? Or what if I have multiples of those bags? So you can put multiple, I have multiple hexes inside of one bag. We'll look at that in a second, because I might end up having to update this again. But let me go into the iBag one here and add disk to bag. So I'm getting the bag disks. I want to get the first one where oh yeah. Okay, so there's a difference between, I'm trying to remember how, this is not originally my bot, so I'm trying to recreate this bot with the allowance of the original developers. I'm trying to recreate the bot to make it so that it can use these slash commands that we're utilizing. Which is just whenever I open up Discord there and you see me type slash something, that's the slash command. So in the iBag command, I can only tell you what molds I have in my bag. So in this case, I can tell you that I have a hex in my bag. I can't tell you that I have 3 hexes in my bag, but that's a different call that we're going to be working on. Not today, but at a future point. So because of that, what bagged disks are. This gives me the bag number. Yeah. Okay, so in this case, if bag disk is equal to null, so if this bag does not have this disk in it, I want to insert the disk into this bag. So this is going to be bagged disk dot ID. Oh wait, no. Bag disk, because that's the actual bag dot ID. Okay, so this will add the disk with this ID to this bag number. Great. Now, if I want to remove it, I need to pass in, again, the disk ID, so the ID of that disk, and the bagged disks.id. The bag ID in this case. All right, so I think I've fixed all the bugs there. Go test it. All right, build works. I'm connected. Now if I go back over here, I do /i bag pilot. There was another error. Okay, so this error was discgolfbotdev.disk doesn't exist. Which, because it's called disks. So wait, let me see which call that was from. Add disk to bag. So Nope, not disk repository. Bag repository. Add disk to bag. I want to get it, select start from disks. All right. So that should be updated. Connected. Slash. So what I was saying about slash commands, this is a slash command. I started off with slash, and then I can pick which command type I want. So in this case, I want the ibag from my SWS bot. Here, SWS Disc Golf Bot V2. So this is my local testing thing. I want to add the pilot. All right, so the pilot has been removed from my bag. Whew. Thank the Lord. So if I did slash ibag again, oh wait, no, let me do slash bag. You can see that it's no longer in there. And let me do slash ibag pilot. Unknown column disk ID and where clause. Inside the add disk to, oh, because sometimes I don't stop to think about the things that I'm doing. So inside of disks, it's not called disk ID. It's called just ID because it's the ID of the disk. So back over to here, you'll see that it did actually add it to the bag. I don't have transactions working in here at the moment. So you can see down here, it's in my putters. If I did slash ibag pilot, it's been removed. If I do it again, it's been added. Let me add it one more time, and then do slash bag, and you'll see that it has actually been removed. So pilot's been added, pilot's been removed. If I call slash ibag on the pilot again, it will be added. I can check that by the ibag call, and there it is. Okay, so ibag works, but I'm actually going to put it back to here because we're going to do something before I go on to the rest of this development here. All right. Hey, look at that. I'm live. These are all the errors that pop up from the bot. Okay, so let me stop this here. One thing that, actually, let me run this real quick. So I had just said that a little while ago that my slash add disk command could take in, let's say I want to add in the Rock 3 again. My manufacturer here gives me options of manufacturers that I can choose from. That's splendid. Splendiferous, if you will. I know that the Rock 3 is by Innova, so I type in Inno, it pops up Innova, and then I can just add that manufacturer in here. Well, I'm going to add discs into a bag. I can't add a disc that doesn't exist, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to delete all that, go back to here, stop that. What we have are these things called choice providers. So what provides the manufacturers to that API call is this choice provider here. And basically what I do is I go into my disk repository, I say, get me all the manufacturers, and then this option value is what have I put inside of that box for the manufacturer. So if I go back to here, slash add disk. So inside of this manufacturer box here, it's not going to pull up with anything because the bot's not running right now, but what have I entered into this? So if I push in S, that option value is now going to be a string that includes the letter S. So option value does come back as an object because it could be a number, it could be a string, it could be anything really. I'm expecting for the manufacturer version that this is going to contain a string. So I can say if the option value is null, so if there's nothing in it, which there shouldn't be, but if it's not a string, if it's like a 1, then it can't be a string. It's not going to be put in there as a string. So that would come back as a null. Or if it does come back as a string, if I can set it to a string and that string is null or white space, and actually I could probably reduce this to be as string, that would do the same thing. What it does is it goes through all those manufacturers, it turns all of them into this Discord autocomplete choice, which is a object that gives you the name and the value of the object. So if I were to type in the name being Black Zombie Discs or whatnot, that would be the name that I would be typing in, and then the value that would be passed into the command is the value. Okay, so because I want to type in a name, a string, I need to accept in a string from there. And this is what would be accepted into the string, into the command. So I have name here as that command. If I did type in something, and I do have an option value, so let's say I typed in S to go for like Streamline or something, I would go through the manufacturers and select where the name starts with whatever that value is. Now there is a limit. So you see this take 25 portion here. There is a limit that I can have. So I probably should also include this take 25 at least. So that I'm not overburdening what the system is. If I have like 25 manufacturers that all have I in the name or something like that. And actually this even shouldn't be starts with, it should be contains. Because what if I'm looking for Black Zombie Discs, but I don't remember that they start with Black Zombie, so I'm just typing in zombie, Z, zom, nothing's working. If I type in Z and it contains it, well, then that should work appropriately. Should work better in that case. It's more user-friendly. But what I want to do is I want to do the same thing with disks for add disk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this whole thing, go back over to my choice providers here. I'm going to add a class. I'm going to call this disk choice provider.cs. I'm going to, put this in here and then just copy over the class name, because a lot of the things that I want to do in here is virtually the same thing. Get service here. I'm using dependency injection, so I can get that repository from here. Instead of using get manufacturers, I wanted to use get disks. All right, so now the manufacturers is going to be disk. If the option value as a string, if the disk option value is a string, but it's null or white space, then I want to take the disks that are in there, and I'm actually going to do order by name. So it starts off with A at the top, right? And I'll do that over here too. Order by name. Same thing down here. Okay, so I get the disk's name and I make those the autocomplete choices. If not, I take the option value here, set it to a string, and I go get the disks. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So where that disk contains whatever that letter is or whatever that string sentence is, I'm going to select those values from there and then still again take the top 25. Now, how do I implement this into the system? So if we go back over to the ibag / command, or excuse me, the closed it. The add disk command. So you'll see that up here for this command, I always take into context for whatever the command is. And then I pass in a whole bunch of options that you can add in. The options, though they say that they are an option, it is just something that you can enter in with the text there. If I don't put in a default value for that option, then that becomes required. So for instance, here, I know that there's a max weight option that I can add. So if I did option max weight, oh, I didn't, this is a copy paste error. Turn fade, let's do max, oops, max weight. I do know that this is going to be a double. I'm just going to call it max weight. But because this is an optional thing, I don't have to add it into the add disk. I'm going to do equals. No. That's going to be an optional double. So now, when I go back, and I'll show you this again when I go to add disk, it will give me the option to be able to add it, but I don't have to add it if I don't want to, which is really cool. But the part that I want to really show you is this here. So what we've done is created an autocomplete choice provider. So basically when I type in things, it auto-completes it. There's another version of the choice provider, which is, gosh, I forget what the name of it is. Look at the documentation real quick. Articles and slash commands and arguments. Yeah. So there's this choice provider command, which is why I named it choice provider before, which allows you to just pass in whatever those choices are. So you see iChoice provider, and I can go and get the application command options from here. So this, while it says you would normally use a database call here, I've tried it. It doesn't work. The developers of D# recommend that you should use an autocomplete choice provider in this case. So that's what I'm doing. And there is no example of auto choice provider in their documentation. It's not, their documentation has a little bit to be desired. But they have an amazing Discord thing here where I've gone through, you can see how many help and support things I have open. I have 3 of them open already because I've been working on this for a week now, and I've just been kind of going through some things and finding some errors and trying to work through it based on what I can see and how to document stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this autocomplete portion here, and it's got to go before whatever your option is. So if your option is the manufacturer, you put this before your option as another attribute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, that's the add disk. So I want to put this into the iBag, and you'll see here, I already have the name for the disk name. I'm just going to add this in here, and I'm going to call this the disk choice provider. We're going to see how this one works. All right, so let's start this one back up. I'm connected. Go back over here. Let's do /ibag. And now I get options of disks. So construct, yeah, let's add the construct. And there it is. Construct's added to my bag. I do /bag. Now it pulls up, and I have a construct in here. And if I do ibag again, I want to remove the construct. I want to remove the pilot, so I can type in things and they get added in there. One thing I did notice is okay. So I can do that. Notice how these are all in order. CEPI, PR, stabilizer. If I put in a P, proxy is now above pilot. It's not in order anymore. Why is that? Because inside of my disk choice provider, here I added in the order by. So when I don't have an option in there at all, when I haven't started typing in anything, I tell it to order by something. But down here, after I've already typed in things, because the proxy in the database was entered before the pilot was, as it should be, it doesn't order it. So now I'm going to add the order in there, and that should work appropriately. Okay, so now that I've updated that, let's go back over to here, and now I can officially take that iBag and put that over there. And we're golden on that. I have upgraded the bot to .NET 8 because the latest version of the D# Plus library is in pre-release. It's not in release yet, but it's 5.0, and the 5.0 version only works with .NET 8. And I've been informed that the 6.x.x, or the version 6 of the D# Plus library, only works with .NET 9 as it is right now. They've told me that they don't plan on doing any sort of backwards compatibility. So if you really want functionality from something earlier, or from that the V5 of the library gives you, you'll have to upgrade to .NET 8 no matter what. .NET 8 or higher. So I can still run the version 4, which I think currently is 4.4.3, is the latest version of the .NET, of the version 4 of the library. So 4.4.3, that one you can use .NET 8, .NET 9 as high as you want the .NET to go, but you can't go any lower than .NET 6. Version 5, you can't go any lower than .NET 8. Version 6, you can't go any lower than .NET 9. So, because I did that, I updated it, great. I think the next easiest one that I'm going to be able to work on looks like this one. So this is the advanced bag command. And what you can see here is it differs from the bag command in that the bag command gives me the name of the bag, so I can name my bags, whose disks they are, what I'm putting with, which could be different than the disks I'm bagging. So you have a putter for a bag, then you have disks that you're bagging specifically. And then it separates from the bag the individual molds by disk type, be it putter, mid-range, fairway, control, and distance. So that is what this is doing, is it's doing that same thing. It's separating it out, putter, mid-range, fairway, control, distance, but it gives you much more information about the disc. So it gives you its flight numbers. So 3 is the speed, 4 is the glide, -1 is the turn, and 0 is the fade for the 2E. It gives you for all of these, which this guy's ran this really recently because the time lapses just come out recently. And it also gives you how many brands this person, like how many discs per brand this person has inside of their bag as well. So I think this is going to be the next one to work on, because the other ones that I have in here are the My Bag, which when I mentioned earlier that I could have potentially multiple different molds. Like right now I have 3 hexes in my bag, and multiple NVs, etc., etc. The 3 hexes might operate differently, which is typically why some people have 3 of one mold in there. There might be an understable version, a stable version, and an overstable version. Comparatively, it's not going to be a lot because they're all the same mold, so they should, for the most part, be the same. But you can also have different weights for them. You can have different plastics for them. So, like, I not only bag an Electron Firm NV for my putter, I have, or excuse me, an Eclipse Electron Firm NV for my putters, but I also have a Neutron Soft NV. And I have several other Eclipse Envies as well, with varying weights and varying pictures and stuff like that. That is the idea of the My Bag command, is that it will give you a much more detailed version of the specific discs that are inside of your bag. You can see it's a huge huge command. Returns a lot of things inside of it. But I don't have the tables ready, the database tables ready for that. So I think the next one that we're going to work on is this advanced bag command. You can also see that I have add and populate all database tables. I started on it. It's working it's in progress. Oops, this is in testing now, but I want to move that up. I'm still going through this to figure out what tables that the original developers had in there that I don't want to use yet for like potential upgrades and features and whatnot. And then I'm moving some of their database tables around as well, because while he was he generated an amazing bot that hundreds of people are using, some of the database decisions that were made don't conform to current database best practices. So nothing against him. He did a great job. I'm just trying to help improve it and make things, I don't want to say more speedy, because his is very speedy as well, but to help with some things, like for instance, those autocompletes for the bags, or for the discs, excuse me, or the autocomplete for the manufacturer and whatnot. Those are things that he doesn't have, or slash commands. There's no such thing as a slash command in his bot, because he made it before slash commands were made as a relevant feature. So he's working on that. And then the last cool thing that I'll show you guys before I start to log off is this one. So he also has this matrix here that contains, I can pull this up a little bit more. Yeah, so this is that one person's McShoddy's matrix, and he has this matrix separated out by the different types of discs, like we said, putter, mid-range, fairway, distance, and control, and then by the stability of those discs. So the stability is when you throw it, which way it tends to turn during its high speed phase, basically, which is that third number in the flight characteristics. So we separate it out with neutral, which is it should go, if it does go to the right on a right hand backhand throw, it should come back fairly stable as well. So if we look at some of the numbers here, let's go to the discs. So the Envy here, you can look at the turn and the fade, because if you take the turn and add it to the fade, the number that you get out of that determines its relative stability. So in this case, your relative stability is a 2, because it's positive. That makes it more overstable. If we look at the proxy, its relative stability is -1 plus 0.5, so it would be -0.5. So this tends to be more understable. Truthfully, it would probably actually fall underneath, I would personally put it underneath understable, because I know the proxy and I throw the proxy, and it definitely is more of an understable disc. Construct, -1 plus 2 gives you a 1, so it's going to be a little bit more overstable. The stabilizer, 0 plus 3 is 3, so it's going to be much more overstable. I think the highest overstability that we can currently think about is the tilt by, I think, Discmania, and that's got like a 0.5 or something like that. Like, it's a ridiculously overstable disc. So the way that he had separated out his matrix here is that you have neutral, which I think is anything that falls between -1 and 1 falls underneath neutral. Yeah, because the trace is a -1, 2. To put it at a stability of 1. So I think it's anything between -1 and 1. Overstable is anything between 1 or greater than 1, but less than probably 2. Greater than 1, but less than or equal to 2. And then everything highly overstable is anything greater than 2. Understable is probably anything from greater than -1 to, or less than -1, I guess, to -2. And then highly unstable would be anything more than -2, like a paradox or an uplink or something like that. So I want to recreate this inside of our bot as well, which is going to be a lot more difficult because this actually goes into the way that the original developer made this. Was he had a background image that he pulled from somewhere, and then he drew certain text boxes over certain places, and then you'll see that this here is just a text box in this orange area that lays out what that thing is. I want to make it a little bit less background needed. Like, I don't need to have a picture of the background somewhere. I can just store it somewhere else, and I can just make these blocks as I need to, or I can not store it somewhere else, excuse me. I'm going to programmatically make these boxes so that in the event that they need to grow or shrink, I can make them all equal together. So like, for instance, there's a lot of space between the bottom of this putter one and the top of the mid-range one. And I could, if I wanted to keep all of these the same height, I could find out what the highest one is. So anything with like a 2 here, and then cut it off and then make all of these that same height. So it looks a little bit better in my opinion. Again, developer did a great job on what he was doing, and he did it great. There's another thing that I wanted to look at trying to create. Turn that back to normal size. And it might be here in, let's see if I can find somewhere in here. There's the, oops. I don't know what I did. Oh, okay, there we go. I think I made it full screen by accident. So I want to search it inside of here, and I want it to be chart. Yeah. Okay. So, this is the unofficial fan-made, not at all approved by MVP Axiom or Streamline MVP network flight chart. All right. This in and of itself is a website, so you can go to it and you can click on things and it will give you information associated with those. I don't necessarily want to do that. I don't want you to be able to click on the picture and have it pull up extra things for you. It makes it a lot more confusing for me. Although I could with interactivity. So maybe if we finish up the bot and everything looks great and whatnot, we can add some of this in. But what I do want to do is, let's say you have that same matrix can be separated out by speeds here. So instead of being putters, which would be down here at the bottom, and then distances, which would be up at the top, and then separate that out, and then stabilities from left to right, you can draw them in like this, and you can see specific pockets that are inside of your bag. So for instance, if we look at the MVP lineup, right now, here in the 6-ish speed, well, resistor is a 6.5. I think, oh no, these are probably all 6s. Oh yeah, 6.5 speed right here. So you can see that the 6.5 speed, there's this large gap between incredibly overstable, which is the resistor, and not including their out of production one, their servo, which is just ever so slightly overstable. I think it's a -1.2. There's a huge gap between the -1.2 and the 0.3 gap here. So people who are looking at their bags can say, oh, I have this large gap in my bag, where bags can really only truly need probably, well, really, you can play an entire round and whatnot with one disc. So really you only need one disc. But as you grow and get into more playing and whatnot, you'll have the point where you get multiple discs and multiple discs and multiple discs, and you'll see a lot of people sometimes just have like crazy overstable bags. So like the entire this side of the thing is just filled in, and there's nothing understable. It tends to mean that they're probably not throwing the disc right, or they'll only have understable and no overstable, which probably means either they don't have a very good arm speed or very fast arm speed, or their stance is way off and they're crouching over a lot, and so they need it to flip up while it's flying. So you can start to see those sorts of gaps in their bags when you start to look at a chart like this. And I want to do that for people's bags. So this is another thought that I have for how I want to handle some people's discs inside of their bags. Trying to find one that's there used to be, I don't know why 2.5 is O, because it's actually sorted by rim width. Which is why I like the Envy and the Proxy so much, because these both have similar rim widths. And from MVP's perspective, the flight plate, which is this part here, you can see on the, let me go to intermission here. Yeah, so if we look at this here, the flight plate is the glow portion on the inside, and the white part is the rim on the outside. Well, MVP makes multiple rims per flight plate, so you can have the same flight plate for multiple discs, and it will just, they put an extra rim around it and it makes it different flight characteristics. So that's why I like the Envy and the Proxy, because their flight plate is the exact same thing. It's where I'm putting my hand. It feels great when my fingers are in there. Whereas with like something closer to the Glitch or the Watt or the Pilot, those ones have a much deeper flight plate, which I'm not a huge fan of. So that's another thought that I have of how I want to make a different type of matrix. So, go back to here. All right, so 4 o'clock. Oops. I think I don't gotta be somewhere until 6. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to think of when I'm supposed to log off to go do things. I can probably log off at about 5. That should be all right. Ooh. Okay, so let's go work on another command. What was the one that we just said that we were going to do? Advanced bag command. Okay, so this is how we're going to start off with a brand new command in this case. So I don't currently want to go over how I set up the program and everything like that, like this. There's a lot of things that go into it and a lot of testing and stuff that I've worked out and figured out, and I'm hoping at some point that I'll be able to go back and make some YouTube tutorial videos given version 5 and some of the features that we can utilize, including slash commands, regular commands, interactivity, etc., etc., etc. I don't have that currently set up, nor do I have a time of when I'm going to end up doing it, but I want to get to that point. So what we're going to do instead is exit out of all those, and we're going to go over here to bag commands, right? we're going to add in a class, and it's going to called advanced bag slash command. That's CS. The advanced bag is going to be kind of similar to the slash bag command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to slash bag command, and I'm basically going to do the same thing that I did with the disks autocomplete choice provider and how I copied from manufacturer one. I'm just going to go here and I'm going to copy all of this. Oh, that part too. That's part of it too. We don't want to leave that one out. I'm just going to drop it in here, because why not? Take the class, override there, and I now already have something set up and started. Okay. I do want to utilize our error service. I'll explain to that what that is when we get to it. We will have the bag repository and we will have the disk repository, because both of those are things that are necessary inside of here. In order to create a slash command, you have to have a class that has a method, in this case called command, though it doesn't need to be called command. It can be called whatever. I think it can be called whatever it wants to be. I just called mine command. But that has to have a an attribute that is this slash command. Okay. Just realized too that the bag command has require admin, which couldn't only be one instance of require admin. There's 3. Ooh, I don't want an ibag either. Add disk should be. All right, and this should not be. All right, so require admin, what that is that some of the commands that I want to make, I say, hey, I only want certain people to be able to do this. So what the require admin attribute does is, if we look here, I only want certain administrators to be able to add in disks into the database. Because if I just let anybody do it, they're just going to add in weird stuff, and I don't want that to happen. So I made this require admin property, attribute, which what it does is it goes and grabs my user repository service, checks to see if the user that is there is an admin user. So if they're in my admin user or admin database, admin table, and if they're not an admin, then I want you to respond with this command is for admins only. And then it returns back with a Boolean on whether or not I want you to continue or whether I don't. And I want you to continue if they are an admin user. If it's not, then I don't want you to. So that's what the require admin is. I don't want that for the bag commands, because I don't understand why you would do that for bag commands, right? You want everybody to use the bag command. So we now have add the bag. So this is the slash that I would type into the system, slash adv bag. And the description for it is look at the, I'm just going to put advanced contents of a bag. I'll go back through and fix these a little bit later. There are some, they are used for like help contexts. So if we go into slash help disk, when I do that, those things here underneath it, so slash add disk, this is where that description comes from. I don't want that. Eventually I want to update those to be a little bit more inclusive, but for now that works fine. So for the advanced bag, I still want to be able to bring in a user. So I want it to be user independent. I can look at my own or I can look at other people's. Grab the username for that. And the username is so that I can say that this user called this command, along with various other things, but specifically that the user called the command. And then I want to go grab the user ID. I want to get their disks that are bagged. Again, if they don't have any discs in the bag, just tell them there's no discs in the bag. If there are discs in the bag, and I want to get the bagged discs command, so in here, my bagged discs is going to return back with the bag, right? And then a list of the discs that are in that bag. So what's going to differ between slash, oh, I haven't pushed my changes up yet, so I don't want to do that quite yet. What's going to differ between the iBag, pull that back again, this here, and bag command is I'm just going to have a lot more data that's associated to it, right? So we're going to end up inside of the putter thing here. We're going to put in the putter name along with all of its attributes. So if I go here and I still have the putting width, right? Putting width pure. I do probably want to add in the flight numbers for the putter as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get that putter. If they have it. Okay, so var putter is equal to await disk repository dot get disk, and I want to get the disk that is, I currently only have it on disk name. Oh, well. I'll just do it by the putter name. That's fine. Then I want to take that putter. Actually, there is a possibility that the user has not put in what their putter is. So I want to say, if the bagged discs dot putter ID does not equal null, then I'm going to go get that disk. Else null. All right, so putter is going to be null. It's going to be a nullable disk. And then I'm going to pass this into the get bag disks embed. Here, I'm going to have question mark disk, putter. And instead of doing bag.putter name, I'm going to do if putter dot, yeah, let me see. If putter doesn't equal null, then I want to do putting width as the field name. And then here, I'm going to put putter.name. And one thing that he does here that is fine, but I want to do it a little bit differently, is that he has his numbers followed by a semicolon, or excuse me, a colon. Again, that's fine for what he was doing. I want to wrap it in parentheses instead of doing that. So I'm going to go give me the putter name and then wrap it in parentheses. The putter dot speed, comma space, putter dot glide, and actually what would be an even better idea if I went into here and I said public string flight numbers. And then I'm going to make a character, a nullable character separator. And what this is going to do is I'm going to return I'm going to return a string where this contains speed, and then if separator dot has value, actually no, I can do separator dot get value or default, or space right. Oops. Character literal. Let me do a string instead. Then I can do that. I'm going to even default it for them to be comma space. Actually, no. Default it to be that string. And then they want to pass in comma. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Speed, glide, like that. Turn, fade. And now, instead of doing all this, I can do putter dot flight numbers. And I'm going to pass in comma space as the separator. Okay, so now I got the putter there. Let me look at okay, so we have all the separated out parts of this one as well. So that was my putter one, right? So here I want to select, instead of d.name, I'm going to do that. So what this is going to do is it's going to add another field called putter, which is what this is going to be. And then I'm going to take all of the putters that I have, which are just any disks between that are less than a 4 speed. We denote those as putters, whether they're approaches, whether you think it's an approach or not. If it's below a 4 speed, we're counting it as a putter. And I take all of those putters, and as long as I have some, look at all these updates. Apparently .any. is slow. And I want to, for each of those putters that are in there, I want you to return back the name and the flight numbers in the way that I originally was getting, or the way that I'm having the putter do it. So I'm going to do this same thing for all of these. All the way down through distance. All right. I know it's not complete. So let's just go look at what we got so far. All right, we're going to go over here. We're going to do slash add bag. So I get my main bag. The discs I'm putting with an NV. That gives me the flight numbers for it. And then those are my two putters, the NV and the proxy. Although I want these on separate lines. So let me do... here we go. Okay. So instead of joining these with a comma, I'm actually going to join them with a new line. So basically every disc that I get there, I put it on a new line. All right. Let's see how this looks now. There we go. All right, the other thing too that I don't necessarily like is if we look at, let me go to the Axiom website. All right. We go to the Axiom website and we look at the putt and approach ones. You'll notice here that the NV, while these technically can be decimals down to the 0.5, or at least that's the way that MVP Axiom and Streamline does it, these can be decimals. They're showing up as non-decimals. All right, they're showing up as just integers. Whereas in the proxy over here, it shows up as a decimal if it's a decimal, like if it needs to be a decimal. So what I want to do is I want to have format decimal to show let's do format decimal with no decimal places. Okay. So it's saying use 0 dot number, which would format it to only first decimal. Math.round, that will round it, which we don't want to do. Let's try this. All right, so we're going to go back over here. In case you didn't know, developers will very often just search up answers. Much easier. Right, let's try this. If I do that, and that, and that, and that, now there is a possibility that this isn't going to work, and I'll explain why I don't think it would if it doesn't. Oh, hey, it did. Perfect. Okay, so in this case, it does work, but what I thought wasn't going to work was because I'm putting in, I'm bringing back from the database a decimal that does have values in it. So it could be, it very well does read like 3.0 potentially. And actually, what if it might not be? Oh yes. What if I put that as in? Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. All right, one way or another, that looks really good so far. I'm liking that, and it presumably would do it for much more of the molds that are showing up on there too. However, if we look back at the thing here. So yes, these show up on different like sideways of the thing. I'm not super concerned about that. It doesn't need to do that for me. Um, what I do need to still figure out is this bag count by brand. Okay. So I need to make another field down here. So if bag.discs dot count doesn't equal null, then what I want to do is I want to take bag.discs.group by manufacturer ID, which I'm wondering if I can just do. No, I don't have it. I want to group by the manufacturer ID, which will give me a groupings list. All right. Add field, and it's going to be called blank's name or usernames bag count by brand. User name bag count by brand. Capitalize these as a classy. All right, and then this is going to be string.join based on /n. I want to bump those down each, and then what I'm going to do is bag.discs.group by the manufacturer ID dot order by descending m dot values. Let's go look this up. What I'm looking for is I want to take. So if I'm going to group each of these discs by their manufacturer, right? I want to take and display the most manufactured discs at the top, and then down from there, right? So C# group by and order by value count. Oh, that's dumb. Okay, so basically it says get the group by, which is just, it returns back to me a list of keys. And then I want to go get Yeah, group by the name. I need to do a select. New new factor ID is equal to m dot p, and then count is equal to this manufacturer ID is equal to m dot p. Then order by descending m dot count dot select m string. Okay, I'll go over this in a second when I finish writing all this out. M dot manufacturer ID, which I need to change that to be manufacturer. I'll update the call for that. And then I want to do how many molds are in each, so that would be m dot count. Yeah, okay, so group by, and do a select, and order by, and do a select. Okay. So I'm going to have a field here called, in this case, let's say Spider Hunter 03's bag count by brand. What I do is I go in and get the discs, and I don't want it to end with manufacturer ID. So we're going to run this, we're going to make sure that it works, and then we're going to go back and fix the manufacturer ID part. But I want to take and get all of the discs and group them by their manufacturer. So give me a bunch of, like a list of keys that have just the manufacturer ID in there. Then the next step is, out of that list of things that I have, that group of things that I have, I want you to select the manufacturer from that. So give me the manufacturer ID, which is in this case what the key is for that grouping. And then for the count, I want you to give me all the places, all the discs where the manufacturer ID is equal to that same manufacturer ID that I have, and then give me the count thereof. So that'll give me what the count is here. So I've now selected, out of all the manufacturers, I now have each of the counts and the manufacturers associated to it. Then I want to order by descending, so go downwards given their counts. So go highest count to lowest count. And then from there, I want you to select the string that I want you to display in there. So the manufacturer's ID, space, and then parentheses, and then whatever that count is. So it's going to look very similar to the way that I have that, except if right now, the way that those are going to display is that they're just going to have a number, which is the manufacturer ID, then the parenthesis, and then the count. All right. So in this case, I should have like all Axiom, and that's it. All right. Let me do slash add bag. Nope. There we go. Yep. So both of these are Axiom brands. And so the manufacturer ID for Axiom is 4. So that's what we get there. All right. So now what I'm going to do, because I can, because I still have some time left, is let's go into my data classes, and I'm going to look at the disk class. So we actually back up a second. I have this bagged disks class, which is basically it's basically a database view. It's not really a view. I didn't put it in the database as a view, but it's effectively a database view. Okay. I want to do a similar thing for disks to pull back the manufacturer name along with the manufacturer ID. So I'm going to make a new model here, and I'm going to call this disk details. My current company that I work for, we are utilizing this a lot. So what it's going to do is it's going to pull all of this information for me, right, from the database. But I also want it to pull back the manufacturer name along with it. So what I can do is I can make this a little bit easier on myself. I'm going to say public class disk details, and I want this to implement the disk class. Super simple. All that means is now that all of those properties that are in there now are in here, so I don't have to recreate it. But I do want to add in public string manufacturer name. Oops. Because strings are now literals now, I have to fill that in. So now I have this disk detail here, all right? And then let's go into the disk repository. And every place where I have disk, I'm going to return back the disk details instead. Okay, oops. Disk details. So from here, I want to select star from disks D, and I want to what I can do is an inner join on manufacturers M on M dot ID is equal to D dot manufacturer ID. And then I'm going to put in D dot star, so pull me back all the values from disks, and M dot name, and I'm going to alias that to manufacturer name. All right, so I like the way that that one's going to look. I want to do the same thing for this. In that I inner join it here. I return back d dot star and m dot name from manufacturer. Don't know why I had that in there. And this is going to return back a disk details. I don't need it for the disk picture. I don't need it for the reviews. Don't need it for the disk count. When I add a disk, ooh, here's an update that I can do. Instead, I want to return get disk by disk name. And this is now going to return a disk details. So I don't have to maintain the fact that there's two different select statements. I can just keep it as one. Manufacturers is fine. Find string by ID. Oh yeah. Wanted to do this one, but I also wanted to take in an int disk ID where d.id equal to disk ID. And actually, I can just do this because it's going to be easier. Doing a little bit of cleanup here. There's no need for me to have like an alias name for the passing in of these things. So I figure, why do that? This one I need to, because I need to select it where. Oh, you know what? Because I'm doing two lower on this other one. Should be doing two lower here too. Lower. And honestly, I could probably just put it in the query, but I don't want to test that yet. So I don't get confused. Nope. And here we go again. So I can take this. I can actually turn await get manufacturer by manufacturer name. I don't need to maintain that. I don't need to maintain that. Okay. Now that I have disk details and my bagged disks, I can probably add in disk details as well. And so for that, I gotta go into here. Now I want to also inner join manufacturers m on m.id is equal to d dot manufacturer Sure. M dot name as manufacturer name. There, we're gonna try that. Sweet. Okay. So now build this. Yep. I gotta go into my repository. I need to fix my repository. And now that this pulls in disk details, that's details. Let's see if there's any place else. Yeah, everything else. Right. Except for the fact I think I updated this to. Oh, no, that's still return type. Okay. So run this again. Oh wait, nope. I still got to go back to my advanced bag. Instead of doing manufacturer ID. I can do manufacturer ID for name. Nope. All right. See if this works. Slash advanced bag. Kapow! All right, let's see what this error is. So you have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual that corresponds to your MySQL version. For the right syntax to use in your m.name manufacturer name from bag.bd in. So stop that. Go back to my bag repository. And yep, I didn't put a comma there. Sometimes it's the easiest things. I can see it as soon as it happened. Yep, and there we go. So Axiom, I have 2. And I'm bagging 2 molds. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to do, second, is I want to update just getting putter name. I want to get the whole putter. Okay, so if we look at this, I have putter ID and then putter name. But instead of putter name, I want to get public details putter. And remove that. So we go back to bag repository. This here, instead of just selecting disks.name, I want to select this star from disk where the putter ID. And I'm just going to name this putter. So see what this comes back. Nope, there's an error. Yeah, putter. Name, right? Works there. And this putter putter ID. But I'm hoping that this, let me just, for the second, let me do putter. Build that. Run that. And I will be right back in the bathroom. BRB. All right, I'm back. Okay, so this is running. Let's go over to here. Let's try this one more time. Sorry, an error has occurred. Operand should contain 1 columns. Which is coming from here. Nope. Here. Let me try it one more time. Let's see if I can get the, nope, can't get it. Okay, so I think okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this magical way. Okay. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna copy this, and this is one of the greatest things that happened to developers in sliced bread. We're gonna go to ChatGPT. All right. And we're gonna say, I have a function that pulls data from the database that is nested using Dapper. Here is the method, and I pass in the method there. And then if I say over here, grab this, I say, here is the class that I want to fill with data. And then we allow ChatGPT to kind of tell us what we're supposed to do. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is why I love ChatGPT. So I noticed something that I didn't even think about while I was writing this. The fact that, and I know I mentioned it several times, but I didn't think about it while I was writing it, is the fact that my putters can be, don't have to be set. What putter I'm using doesn't have to be set. So if I go back to my bag repository, what I'm doing is I'm pulling from here to say, hey, I want you to get me my putter that matches the putter ID. Well, if I don't have a putter, it's only going to come back as null. Okay? Instead, it gives me this here. I'm going to drop it right there. So it's everything before the where clause. And then instead of having a lookup, oh yeah, because I pass in the multi-bag number. So we just have bag disks. And then instead of editing it, I'm not going to look at anything in here. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to literally copy this and paste it. All right. And then we're going to just see if it works, which it doesn't, because lookup doesn't exist anymore. So in this case, I just need to return bag disks, which could be no. And this, we know. All right, so we're connected again. I'm just going to run it and we're going to see. And just like that, ChatGPT figures it out. It's like magic. Okay, so what I want to do though, is I want to do two things. My advanced bag tab, and I want to put a stop point here. And then I want to go into, well, let's put a stop point there. I'll call it again. We're going to look at what the thing returned. All right. So inside of bag disks, I have no bag photo. I have a bag name. I have two disks in there. This is the name of the number of the bag, or the ID of the bag. This is the number of the bag, so bag 0. My putter in this case is the NV with all of that information associated to it, with a putter ID of 15, and that's my user ID. So it literally gets everything that I need for me, right? Let's go into here real quick though, and I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and we're going to look at what it's actually doing. I'll hold off on that after we finish actually running the command. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm selecting all of this information from here. And if I actually take this, I know my user ID is in here somewhere. Let me go to my calls. I can grab my user ID. Not getting for me. Here, I'll go into there. My user ID and my multi-bag number is 0. I'm going to run all of that. So this is what it gets for me, is it gets bag information, right? It gets disk information, so each of the disks that are in the bag. Disk information, right? All the way up to here. Then I give the manufacturer name, which is there, so the manufacturer of that disk. And then this name here. So this is the putter disk in this case. But the putter disk doesn't come with the manufacturer associated to it. So what I'm going to need to do is get the manufacturer's name as well, which it's not, that's not really in there. So comma space. Let's left join manufacturers M on, nope, 2 on m2.id is equal to p dot, I'm going to call this PM, putter manufacturer, p dot putter ID. Or I'm sorry, p dot ID. No, p dot manufacturer ID. There we go. And this is going to be PM dot name as putter manufacturer name. Actually, let me see if this is the same thing that ChatGPT would have done too. All right, so I didn't give it my structure. Yeah, I just gave it the bagged disk structure. I didn't give it the disk detail structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab my disk details and my disk structure. So for the putter, I want to return back the manufacturer name as well. Here is the disk details class. And here is the disk class. I want to see if it's going to come up with the exact same answer. Ooh. And that is exactly what it did. So put in PM name. It even named it the same thing that I did. Left joined on it. So instead of doing extra work, just going to highlight all of that. I'm going to copy it, stop this, go to the webAg repository, and then I'm just going to dump it all right there. Boom. Have those ones over. Nullify that. Okay, so what it's going to see is that what it's trying to do is inside of the putter, because the putter is still a disk details, it's trying to take that, set it into the putter manufacturer name, which I can't have it do. So one thing that I can do, well, let me just go back to here. So you have putter manufacturer name in the code, but that doesn't exist in the class, and I don't want to extra properties to that class in specific. Would you go about recommending that I get that property correct? Okay, so it still pulls it all back the exact same way. Putter tuple. Oh gosh. Okay. So that dropped all that in there the way that it did. We'll go over this one more time. Have this in. So now what it's taking in is it's saying, go grab me the putter information, the information for the putter, as well as the name of that manufacturer. And then when it pulls it back, it gives me all of the bag information, which comes from here, the disk details information, which comes from here, and then this tuple here gets me the disk details for the putter, which is this part, and the manufacturer name, which comes from this part. I think it's actually probably going to fail because I think this needs to be putter manufacturer. Breakpoint in here. Build that real quick, see if that's, yep, still looks right. And then here, all advanced bag. And there was an error. Okay, the error message is wrong. I'm realizing that. I can fix that in a second. One of the beautiful things about ChatGPT is if I do this, and I go back over to here, I say, I put that in my call, and this is the error I got. Okay, so I think, let's close that. open this. So one issue that I think I see is that this is supposed to be the putter manufacturer name. And this should be if that fixes it. Sometimes you can fix these things much quicker than ChatGPT can respond. Still getting an error, which is still the same issue. Okay, let me see what ChatGPT said real quick. Oops. Do that. Stop that. Need the CLR open. Here I do need to update this to be add flag, and then we're just going to roll with it, and we're going to see what we get. Still an error. Still the same error. This is sometimes the unfortunate part of ChatGPT. Okay, so the way that we're going to do this instead, I'll explain it to you because I do got to go, and then I'll do it and I'll show you guys next time that I have this up. Is disk details is just a class, and internal to this repository here, I can just create classes willy-nilly, right? So what if I did a private class called putter details, and that took in disk details with one small exception. It would also include the putter, public string putter manufacturer name. And what I would do is make that putter details. I would revert this back to p dot star. Revert this back to p dot star. Revert this back to p dot star. So with this, I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to say, go back up here because this maintains all the stuff that's in here. I don't want to use a tuple anymore. Then I'm just going to go back and copy through this. All right, we're going to try that. Let's see if that works. If this doesn't work immediately, then I got to go, but I will fix it later on. Issue in my... Oh, that doesn't have a comma. Okay, that was a dumb error. Connected. Ooh, we got in it. Okay, so if we look at, I got a bag disc, I got a disc, I got a putter, and this putter is a putter manufacturer name, and then just a regular manufacturer name. So then if we go down to the putter port, the putter now is going, its manufacturer name is going to be set to the appropriate one. So now they're both going to have Axiom. I'm going to take this and assign that to putter in the bag disc. Now, bag discs does not have this private class putter, this putter details. It only has disc details. So when I look at it, it's only going to have manufacturer name. Well, it's going to have putter manufacturer name, but it's not going to get... Ah. Okay, well, it's running through it. Now I just got to work through this part here to make sure that it's correct. Let me run it one more time. I know, I'm supposed to be going. Did give myself a little bit of wiggle room. Ooh. I bet you it's because this is supposed to be ID. Yeah. There we go. Now I'm getting back everything that I'm supposed to. And now I don't have to go call out for the putter itself. All right, and so that's how I start to process some of these commands. I will talk to you guys later at another time. And keep coding.